Hello, Blaine Ziglar here. I feel that most people don't understand what goes on in an artist's mind. You know, and I feel that most of the time nowadays, with this newest generation, they don't really respect artists um, as they used to. You know, and that starving artist concept, of course, is too real to feel sometimes, but something that inspires me, that reminds me of who I am. I made a list of the people that I truly connect with, and through reading their autobiographies or biographies by other people, um, and listening to their music and just feeling it, I understood myself better. And sometimes when I need to be motivated, I just look in the mirror and I say, I am Bob Dylan, Son House, Bob Marley, Jack White, Scott Weiland, Leon Russell, Fiona Apple, Elvis Presley, Elliott Smith, Jimbo Mathis, Captain Beefheart, Steve Reich, Sam Phillips, Jerry Lee Lewis, Syd Barrett, Bob Marley, Neil Young, Lauryn Hill, Leonard Cohen, Ryan Bingham, Jim Morrison, Fela Kuti, Skip James, um, Bruce Springsteen, Nina Simone, Howlin' Wolf, Tom Waits, Richie Havens, Brian K. Wilson, Jimi Hendrix, Keith Green, Immortal Technique, Jesco White, Townes Van Zandt, David Bowie, Kurt Cobain, Amy LaVere, and of course my cousin, who I was named after, who was a harmonica playing hippie, hitchhiked to Woodstock, woke up to Jimi Hendrix playing Star Spangled Banner, Blaine Ziglar. Of course, my full name is Joshua Blaine Ziglar, and I feel like there's a duality there between the two names. Of course, I was raised as Josh, you know, and I've been randomly called Ziggy, you know, just like many other members of my family. All kind of get that title, and we're proud of it. You know, we're proud to be Ziglars. You know, Ziglar means master brick mason, and I feel like I'm making structures out of sound. Um, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of the way my mind works. As an artist, I have extreme highs and lows, just like anybody, but I feel that maybe there is a manic or bipolarism trait that is in every artist. And when I was younger, I went to a whole lot of concerts. And before that, you know, I was raised in Holiness Church one weekend and Baptist the other weekend. And I got these two different views of Christianity that way. And then when I was 17, I started looking for truth myself. You know, I got stepped away from mainstream and television and all that, and it became my own personal mission in life, you know, to bring whatever was culminating inside me out, you know, and I've tried to make a living at it. I've done it from time to time. You know, it's a sporadic thing. I don't do music to make a living. I don't do music to be at the top of the charts. I do music because that's what I do. That's what I really enjoy. That's when I'm the most alive. And my mind is always racing, and I can't quite articulate these thoughts, and then that turns into a frustration or a writer's block if I let it. But I feel that what I've been doing with Boxcar Gospel, you know, with Rosalie, Brian, Drew was there, Kenny Gravely was there, Joel Lancaster. The songs we've been recording are masterpieces. I feel so great about them. And the reason that there's been such a delay on this band getting off the ground is just because of the area that we live in, and also this past year has been tumultuous and kind of traumatic for me. And now it seems that my inspiration just comes and goes, you know, and I can't focus on wasted time or any regrets or anything like that. I got to keep creating no matter what. That in itself is my therapy. The more I create, the better I feel, the more balanced I become. And taking it back to what I said about being raised two different sides of Christianity and church, and then being consumed by the whole rock and roll idea and going to show after show after show. And every show that I went to, I'm not going to say every show, but most of them, there was this energy there that was present from time to time in church also. And I can summon up this energy, which I would call the Holy Spirit, just upon will, you know, just upon faith. But I really miss playing live shows and having that energy transfer from inside of you to the crowd and then back. And it is the most beautiful experience. And once we start playing shows, sky's the limit. I'll be much more balanced then. As of right now, I don't know whether to do this or that, you know. I work a little bit on this track or that track, but really I'm more of a perfectionist than I need to be. And with the two different ways that I look at things, depending on what mood I'm in, I might listen to a recording and completely hate it one day, whereas a couple days before that, that recording was gold to me. So I always go through these thoughts going back and forth. You know, some would call it spiritual warfare, others would call it a chemical imbalance. When you look at what's wrong with the world, it's no wonder. And I don't see how anybody can not have some type of a creative outlet. I think that's very important for everyone in their lives, you know. Which some people say, well, some people aren't creative, and that's why you have artists, and that's why you have businessmen on the side and all this. But everybody's creating something. And what they're oblivious to is that they're creating a reality. Now, whether they stick with it and let that reality manifest into something physical in nature or material in nature really depends on whether they continue or give up. Most of the musicians around here, it's very sad to say, hurts my heart, they've given up. And I'm not going to give up. It's not in me. I feel like giving up from time to time, you know. I I feel like dying when I'm at my lowest point. And when I'm at my highest point, I feel like I can do anything, and I feel like I can conquer the world if that's what I wanted to do, which I don't. Um, Oddly enough, I had the same birthday as Donald Trump, and Che Guevara, so I don't share the same ideals or aspirations as really either one of them. Now, I would say Che was definitely on a good page when he first started out, but once he turned into a killing machine, that's definitely where I draw the line. In the search for that creative muse, I traveled on faith, to Nashville and Memphis a few times, um, and ended up sleeping on the street. Really lived the hardest life. Inflicted a bunch of misery upon myself, just seeking this elusive thing. This thing that I was obsessed with, that I couldn't even really quantify into words. Um, but I feel like I've learned a lot that the average person wouldn't know or would never even give themselves the opportunity to know. I've learned a lot about spiritual um, aspects of our reality and what spirit truly is. And really, it has to do with words and intention and vibes. You know, Words are so powerful. That's why we need to be positive with all of our words. But if we're going to talk about negative things, that's necessary for a very cathartic reason. Um, and we need to get through those also. I would say one song that's very real, I lived it, and at times it's made me cringe just because of the pain that I hear in my voice during it. But it's a song called Memphis State of Mind. Now, that song came from living on the streets, and it brings me right back there. But on that particular night, I I left my guitar with a venue owner, locked it up in his back room, and uh, I was able to get some change, and I bought one of these really tall beers on Bill Street. I drank that, and then I drank another one because it was the only way that I could truly um, get some rest and let myself sleep while being on the street. I ended up sleeping in a handicap ramp uh, that was at a trolley station. So the handicap ramp has this little gate that comes up, so it's basically like a box. So I slept in that box, and I guess when the cops came by, um, they didn't see me, so they didn't harass me or anything. But in Memphis, you can get locked up for 11 months for being homeless, basically, for being a vagrant on the street. Of course, there's a whole campaign in Memphis about uh, do not help the panhandlers. There's a panhandling epidemic, so to speak. I feel that most of those lost people out on the street, they've either fallen on hard times and they're good people, in which means they're there temporarily, or you've got the drug addicts that just wander around the street, try to get up enough money just to get their fix for that day. And then the next day comes and it continues. And then you've got the people with severe mental disorders, like say paranoid schizophrenia, which I see as a spiritual illness rather than something that medicine is going to cure or anything like that. You have a lot of crazy people on the streets, and then the other type of homeless people are the crooks, the swindlers, and that's why panhandling has really become this thing, because in a tourist town, you can show up with your skit and do the same thing every night, and it's always going to be somebody different, and they may or they may not fall into your ploy. Either way, you've got tens of thousands of people in one few block area, and they're there to spend their money. And I mean, if I was homeless and if I was asking for money and all that, that's definitely what I would do. Now, the entire time I was homeless, I never asked for any money. I always just opened my guitar case and played. And I just depended on God to put it in the hearts of those individuals passing by to listen and maybe to throw some change in. I'd say on an average day I'd make like $25, When I was staying in Bill Street, my rent was $25 every 2 days. So, it was a way to make a living, but it was not a good living at all. What I hope is that we can get our band back to a regular practice regiment and start playing shows. Shows can be lucrative. One problem we found that we fell into under Boxcar Gospel, not Boxcar Gospel, but the Phantom Vibrations, we didn't promote right, and each show the crowd dwindled more and more, and in the process the morale of the band diminished, and that's why with Boxcar Gospel I tried, like during the first stint of the band, I tried my hardest to just get us motivated, get us together and do it. Now, in between that time period at the start and say a couple, 3 years later, we have a lot of recorded material, and I feel like a lot of it's ready, but I want to release it as a completed artwork. Each of these tracks mean a great deal, and with the short attention spans of people and just them falling into their own little niches of what they like, and they only see what they like, the type of hyper-normalization that you see nowadays. I feel that our album needs to really quantify the entire picture, have the duality of God and the devil, so to speak, which is real life, and keep it as real as possible. Because that's the main intention, is just to have this realness come through in the most honest way. Now, me being a perfectionist, that contradicts that process, because I do believe in what Sam Phillips said, that there are good mistakes, you know, and uh, you've got to know when there is a good mistake and just leave it in there. You know, you can't polish everything up to the point that it sounds like a computer, you know. But people's ears have been programmed to that MIDI, overly clear, everything perfect thing that really a lot of people would benefit from hearing music like ours, but they wouldn't even give it a chance, um, just for one reason or another. But our music comes from the heart. It always will. It always has. And I thank God for it. And I'd like to thank everyone who has supported us throughout the years. I know it's not been easy. And I know at times it's been rewarding. But hopefully in the future, you know, I don't need money. So when I get money, I'm going to use it as a tool to help people and to get projects going. That's the reason in a previous video, you know, I prayed for $5,000, and I, I didn't pray for $5,000 because of anything selfish. I was thinking about what I could do with that money. There's so many people sitting on their money, and they think that that's their security, but it's not. My faith in God is my security. My unity with the people that I know and love, my support system, that's my security. Money is not. But it would be very nice to have enough money to fund the projects that spring up in my mind, you know. One day it will come, and I hold fast to my prayer, and I know that that money will find its way to me one way or another. I might have to work for minimum wage, washing dishes, until I get up to $5,000, which would be like a half a year. However it goes, either way, if I did that, it wouldn't be $5,000 by the end of it. You know, it would be pennies because of the cost of living. But I appreciate y'all listening to me, and I hope that maybe if you didn't understand me before or where I was coming from, maybe you understand a little bit better, and maybe in the process of understanding someone else, you can understand yourself better. Anyway, make it matter. Make it right.